In these two slides, I'm going to try to provide a concise but representative overview of qualitative research. So let's get a bit of a broad picture first, and then in the second slide, we'll look at the characteristics in a bit more detail. Firstly, qualitative research makes certain assumptions in terms of paradigms. You may remember the interpretive paradigm, and you'll probably have made the inference that qualitative research is very much in the interpretive constructivist paradigm, because it makes certain assumptions about the nature of reality, the relationship of the researcher to subjects, and it takes the view that there are multiple realities, situated meanings. In other words, that reality is socially constructed by human actors, and this is a changing situation. And what that means in terms of methods is that the methods that are generally more appropriate would be in-depth interviews, participant observation, focus groups, because this involves a more ongoing, deeper, engaging dialogue with the people being researched to understand the way they are constructing reality, the meanings they give to certain things that may not be apparent or might even seem strange to outsiders. Now, as in all forms of research, there are kind of traditions of the research, and these are traditions of ethnography, which is very similar and used by classical anthropologists, where they go into a society, spend a lot of time, sometimes years, to try to understand how the society works. Other traditions are grounded theory that works very much from looking at the data as it is emerges, rather than going in with preconceived categories or preconceived questions. And action research, which is very much used in educational research, and we will focus on that in this workshop series. Phenomenography is a very specialised technique, and I will not be going into that in any detail, but if a lot of people are interested further down the line, we can have a series on that. So that's a kind of big picture of qualitative research. Don't worry if all is not totally clear at this point, but gradually this should make sense as a kind of integrated whole. So let's move on to look at the specific characteristics of qualitative research. Certainly the overriding thing is that we go into situations, we look at situations, we try to describe what's going on, and we try to understand and interpret the human experience in those situated contexts. In other words, if we're studying our students in a lesson situation, what kind of meanings are they given to that experience from their point of view, not from what we might like, and how do we interpret their experience in ways that we can understand and perhaps further down the line connect with in some way, because it's about their reality, their experience, not what we think it should be. Hence, the focus is on the experience as a whole, the meanings that participants give to it. We might think students might like something, but if they don't like it, and that's our experience, then that is a reality to them. It's not for us to say, well, they should like the experience. Ultimately, reality is subjective. It's a little bit like life, as John Paul Sartre once said. The meaning of life is exactly the meaning you give to it. A bit chim that. Okay, let's move on. So subjectivity and bias are part of the research context. As the researcher, you will influence the situation, and the way they perceive you will also influence the access to information or the types of information they might be prepared to display to you in that context. Hence, the process of research is very dynamic. And as a researcher, you need to be sensitive to what's going on, because you may need to change the approach, the methods, even your role within the context of the research. And that's where, as we'll see, there's a lot of skill and thinking involved in managing a qualitative research process, because it is very fluid. It's a bit like doing facilitation as compared to formal lecturing. In a facilitation situation, as we know, one has got to work very much in situ and be prepared to change the instructional strategies and methods that one's using. However, In qualitative research, lots of different types of data can be used to capture or depict the natural setting. And a variety of methods can be used, whilst there is a tendency to methods that involve more in-depth interviewing, observation, etc. All methods that offer insight into that situation, that experience, are perfectly valid. So when we talk about qualitative methods and quantitative methods, and there are differences of emphasis, all can be used within an umbrella of qualitative research. So there's an overview. I hope most of it makes some sense.